Good morning, guys. So we've got Kieran here just to start you off with a little introduction for today. And first of all, let me just say welcome back to day number 2 of our 3D Experience Works What's New event. Now, I'm sure you guys will all agree, day 1 was action-packed, full of some great enhancements that comes with this release. And as Mike said, it truly is the best release ever. Now, just a little recap from yesterday. We had a little look through some expanded functionality within our core SolidWorks product. We also looked at some performance enhancements that we saw within there as well, and there's some great things going on there with the enhanced graphics in the background. And finally, we started to touch on our SolidWorks 2021 in action, especially when it comes to our additional products that we have in there. Now, we're going to continue on with that at the start of day 2 here. We're going to look at our SolidWorks 2021 in action even further, because we're now going to start digging even deeper into our additional SolidWorks products. Because who'd have thought it, but yes, SolidWorks Composer has yet more enhancements even after last year. Who'd have thought that was even possible after they had the MP4 format? But believe it or not, it's true. And there's some great enhancements for all the other SolidWorks products that we have in here as well. But that's enough of me talking. So let's jump straight in, and I'll pass you over to Scott to start us off with those Composer enhancements.
Thanks, Kieran. So we'll now jump into some enhancements to Composer. So whether you're creating documents for assembly procedures, installation guides, or safety manuals, technical publications are critical, and with Composer 2021 it's easier to create this content than ever before. So when importing a new assembly into Composer, it's recommended to select an appropriate import profile, depending on the origin of the CAD data. And now in Composer 2021, the Open dialog gives you even more control, with information on the configurations of the part or the assembly you're working on now available as you go to open it. So we can now just go and select these, and we can bring those into our project. And once we're in our project, we've got plenty of great rendering styles that are already built into Composer that will give us the right look and feel for our document. So selecting the flat technical display option will be perfect for these illustrations of the square robot's cleaning brush assembly. First of all though, before we dive in, we're going to go to our document settings, and in here we'll see that SolidWorks Composer 2021 offers additional options for selection and highlighting. You can now select for hidden edges to be shown, along with modifying the colour intensity. And just as before, colours can be set for both our parts and our assembly selections and highlighting within our window. And we can customise these to suit whatever model we're working on if we have certain colours in there. Previous versions of Composer have had the ability to modify other document properties as well. Common changes included removing the gradient and adjusting the background of the viewport, and setting the paper space to document sizes, or in this case we're going to set it to a 16:9 ratio. And we can also set the units for a project. What's new in Composer 2021 though is the ability to save these document properties, and this is extremely helpful when working with other systems, updating previous projects, or even just setting a company-wide standard to work from. So the next step for this replacement part catalogue that we're creating here is to create some views for each of the different cleaning head options. And Composer offers quick ways to hide and show components with the right click menu. In this case, hiding all the unselected components and leaving just the desired cleaning head subassembly. And also new in 2021, you'll see an updated user interface that allows for the docking of tabs and windows. So for example here, if we take our configuration tab, we can actually drag that over to the right hand side of our window there, and we can just dock it there. And that gives us a nice way to access all the configurations that were brought in during the import process. And now with a new configuration active, it's easy to create all the required views for this document. In this view, there are some parts that are hidden, and when selecting assembly configurations, you'll see that only the visible components are highlighted. New in Composer 2021 is the ability to toggle this visibility on and off from the system preferences by enabling the option that we see here, which is highlight in the viewport and visible actors belonging to the selection. So with this option on, you'll see visual feedback of hidden and shown components with each of your selections in the window there. So each of the cleaning head subassemblies need their own exploded view, which is no problem for Composer. From this view, all of the cleaning blades can be selected from the advanced selection tool with just one click. And using the explode transform positions each of the blades how we want it. So in this case, we're just going to explode them out in a cylindrical fashion there. And that will help to position each of the blades in our view there. And with predefined styles for our callouts, all the part numbers and descriptions are automatically defined and formatted. So if we jump ahead now to the completed project, new for 2021 is the ability to share a composer file directly to the 3DEXPERIENCE platform. And this allows the interactive content to be viewed through any web browser on any device. So as you can see here, whether you're creating installation or assembly manuals, or even web-based interactive content, Composer has everything that you need to get the job done. And that brings our section on Composer to a close, so I'll now put you in the safe hands of Kieran and Grant, who are going to take a look at what's new in simulation.
Thanks for that, Scott. Who knew there could be so many more changes to Composer after they had the MP4 format? So moving on to simulation, and again, pretty packed in here with some enhancements. So what we'll do is we'll just jump straight into it. So in order to look at these enhancements, we're going to look into this corner bracket of our square robot assembly. And as you can see, there's some loads and fixtures which have been added in order to represent its functionality within the top level assembly. What we've also done is add in a draft quality mesh for all our fasteners within here. It was a great little enhancement to SolidWorks 2020. Well, once we've done that, we can then look to run and solve our model. And that's where the first enhancement will be that we can see within SolidWorks 2021. You'll see just how quickly it was able to generate this mesh. Not only that, you'll see just how quick the solve time is for it. Now, this is one of the huge enhancements that's been made for simulation for 2021, as the processors in the background have actually been adapted in order to run even faster. So you can now use multiple cores in order to calculate our results. Now, this is an absolute huge one, guys. I was testing this out for a customer just a few weeks ago, and believe it or not, it took their run times from as much as 45 minutes down to as little as 14 minutes. So it cut it by 2/3 basically. So an absolute enormous one to look out for. But looking on to some of the other enhancements within simulation, and where we're going to look is within our contacts. Now, within our contacts, we now have the ability to look at the gap range in order to consider for our contacts. Not only that, we also have the option to stabilize an area if there is a gap present. So let's just see what that looks like. Well, we go through and compare some results that we have here. So one's using our gap option, one isn't. And what we'll see is the option on top, where the gap option is used, it looks exactly what we'd expect. Whereas the option on the bottom, you can see something's not quite right. Because there was a gap in there, it's not quite picked up the contact correctly. So with this new option, we now spend more time analysing our results instead of trying to troubleshoot the issue that's going on within our model. Now, another enhancement for Simulation 2021 is the addition of correction factors when it comes to cylindrical, spherical and conical faces within there. There's also been some enhancements to meshes where they don't have common nodes within there or incompatible meshing for any of our simulation whizzes out there. But following up on the mesh, what we also have is this mesh quality diagnostics tool. Now, with this tool, poor elements are now automatically displayed within our graphics area, making it quicker and easier to analyse what exactly is going on with our mesh and where we should be focusing on. Now, with this new tool, it also has a built-in mesh helper, where we can quickly and easily tweak our mesh settings in order to resolve these issues. Now, when it comes to running our studies, solvers are a huge time saver, and the automatic option is a great way to go if you're not too sure which solver to use, and especially since the new enhancements with this release. The reason being is that the automatic solver now looks deeper into our simulation setups along with our machine configuration in order to figure out which solver best suits the study that you're running at that time. Now, don't worry if you're a little bit of a simulation whiz and you like to control which solver you're using, because you can still dig down into there and find whichever one that you're looking for. Now, for any of our experienced simulation users, what you'll also notice is some of the terminology has also been changed within this release. So what were previously known as our contacts within there are now known as interactions. Within those interactions are previously named bonded, no penetration and allowed penetration contacts have also been changed to contact, bonded and free interactions within there. Now, this has been done in order to better align with industry terminology, so it helps you better understand what exactly is going on. But I'm sure you can agree with the combination of all of these enhancements, simulating our designs has never been easier within SolidWorks. Now, following on from the simulation section, I'm going to pass you over to Grant, who's going to take you through some flow simulation enhancements.
Thanks for that, Kieran. A big year for simulation then, and also, I must say, a big year for flow simulation as well. We're seeing enhancements to the types of study that we can run, and we're also seeing more control being brought into those existing study types. Let's jump in and get a taster of what's new with flow simulation in 2021. Right off the bat, a real groundbreaker. Now, for a few years, we've had the ability to use the rotating region option in flow simulation. But now for 2021, we can combine it with the free surface option. This allows us to complete mixing tasks, and if you need to gain more insight as to how your assembly is handling multiple fluids, nothing's better. Let's start with a practical example. So for this thruster, we're looking to solve the torque and power requirements when it interacts with two separate fluids at the same time. Now we can go ahead and create goals to track these outputs, and by going into the history section of their own goal plot, their values can be viewed throughout the duration of the study. The key thing there is it's not only the beginning or the end, but at any point throughout. Just like that, we're able to find out how much torque and how much power would be required for this thruster. Now beyond that, in 2021, we also have new columns provided in the summary table. Now the idea behind these is it makes it easier than ever to find the maximum value and crucially when it's occurring. Now when it comes to creating common plots to visualize your results, even easier in SolidWorks 2021. Simply use the new create plots from scene command, and you can even go a step further and create the same plot in multiple studies if you wanted to. All you'd have to do is activate that plot in the given study. And if you know ahead of time that you're creating a plot that might be useful later on, go ahead and use the new create scene template option. And now you're ready to create your various custom plots in any other project with one single command. Now another common application for SolidWorks flow simulation is of course heat transfer. This vehicle enclosure has got multiple electrical components all inside and they all generate heat. The enclosure itself is designed to act as the heat sink here. But how exactly can we determine how heat is moving from one component to the next? The flux plot is a great way to do this. Because it's a graphical interface, it's really easy to see where the heat is coming from and where it's going to. Now a new option for 2021 in this plot groups all items by type, so you can quickly check the energy balance of the simulation and ensure that your study has fully converged. When it comes to investigating specific areas of the model, this can be done by creating a cropped region. When you click on the automatic plot, min and max options, they're now calculated from this cropped region so you can clearly communicate the range of values without further manual modifications, a big benefit from last year. Another improvement with goals is the ability to calculate the minimum, the average and the maximum from a selected number of goals. So for example, you can easily discover the maximum temperature across all of the batteries and PCBs with minimal setup work. Win-win. To further reduce the amount of manual calculations, custom visualization parameters can now depend on other custom visualization parameters. The Magnus formula for calculating the dew point temperature is a great example of when to use this new functionality. Just set them up as items in the engineering database once, and they're ready to use for your past, current, or even your future projects. It's really tough to cover so many great enhancements in just a few minutes, but the main takeaways are more study types and more control over those studies. Now I'll pass you back to Kieran, who's really breaking the mold on this one by introducing the enhancements to SolidWorks Plastics for us.
Thanks for that, Grant. That all looks great. I really like the part with the free surface and the rotating regions. It's really interesting stuff you can do with that. So moving on to SolidWorks Plastics, and again there's a few little goodies in here with this release for SolidWorks 2021. We now have a larger material library within there. We've also got some extra injection processes that we can look at, but let's have a look and see what's going on. So as of SolidWorks 2020, for plastics, it was now changed over to a geometry-based setup. And the same thing applies with SolidWorks 2021. But first of all, you'll notice that we now have the addition of this multi-material overmolding even, study that we can carry out on our parts here. With that selected, we just need to select the number of injection processes that we're interested in. And once they're in place, it's then just a case of assigning the materials to each of these different units that we have. And it's within this materials library that you'll see one of the next enhancements within 2021. With SolidWorks 2021, we now have a much larger material library. In fact, there's over 300 new materials being added from manufacturers around the globe. So again, we now have access to more information. Once that material is assigned, we can then simply apply the material to our second process there using our recently used drop-down. And then once that's set up, we can then carry on with the rest of our setup. With the materials in place, we then only need to assign which unit is assigned to which domain in this case. Again, just done with the right-click mouse button. And then finally, we can then move on to setting up our cooling channels. Now, again, as I mentioned, with the 2020 release, it was more of a geometry-based setup. And the same thing applies here. So we no longer need to spend time modelling in these cooling channels. We can simply use a 3D sketch to reference the location and then set up the parameters to suit. And the same thing applies for the new and improved bafflers and bubblers within SolidWorks 2021. Simply selecting the sketch, setting up the parameters, and then assigning them within our analysis. Within our parameters, you'll see that we have information like our ID, our height and thickness, and so on. And again, once it's set up, we can then move on with the rest of our analysis, just like that. Now, again, going back to the geometry-based setup, because we no longer need to model in our cooling channels, of course, we no longer need to model in our mold either. However, it still needs to be taken into consideration. So what we can do is set up a virtual mold, again, taking out the need to spend time on any modelling at this stage, where we can simply add in a mold. And then finally, we can assign our materials for both our cooling channels and for our mold as well. Next thing to set up is our injection locations. Now again, I'm stressing this quite a bit here, but because it is a geometry-based setup, again we can apply these injection locations directly onto the geometry, whereas previously we'd need to define a mesh before we'd even done this. Again, makes things a lot easier if we're trying to set up some different injection scenarios or anything like that. We can make changes on the fly without the worry of messing up our analysis as well. Finally, we can wrap up this analysis by adding in things like our coolant inputs and outputs. And then finally, we'll also add in our clamp force for our injection, or for our mold as well, should I say. Once that's in place, it's only at this stage that we then need to carry out our meshing process. So as I said, there's no need to spend time on this at the start of the analysis and then have it affect things further down the line. It's now one of the last things that you do before you even carry out the analysis itself. But once the meshing process has been carried out, straight away we can see by zooming in our cooling channels here The more realistic baffles and bubblers are more accurate in comparison to previous releases. So what does this mean? Well, it basically means that we're going to get more accurate results out of our analysis at the end of the day. So we now have more accurate cooling times and things like that as well. That in combination with a geometry-based setup, I'm sure you can agree that it makes things a lot more easier if we're trying to make tweaks along the way to different scenarios for injection processes. We can quickly and easily start to set up our analysis and simply hit the run button with the change of the geometry. From that point, it's then just a case of analysing our results, looking at things like our cooling times. We could look at our weld lines, air traps, or even things like the stresses within our model as well. So for Plastics 2021, you can see that there's a whole load of things in there. One of the great things, even though it was from last year's release, I'm sure you'll agree the geometry-based definition is a lot more user-friendly in comparison to the previous releases. Well, moving on from that, I'm going to pass you over to Craig, who's going to take you through the enhancements for SolidWorks PDM.
Thanks for that, Kieran. So I'm going to take us through the next 3 sections. So that'll be on PDM, or Product Data Management, the managed side of things, which follows on very nicely from PDM, as well as the built-in CAM package inside SolidWorks and everything new within each of those. Just before we get going on that, what I want to show you is just one wee video we created last year. It's actually my colleague Grant's bit of labour of love from last year in regards to the PDM stuff. And that was a little PDM skit that Grant created last year for us. So I thought, just for anyone that may have missed that last year, and because I still think it's quite funny and quite good, I'll play that for you just now, and then we'll get going. Hopefully you guys get a wee bit of a chuckle from that. So with that out of the way, let's get going on looking at what's new in PDM. SolidWorks PDM 2021 lets you explore and document references with the highly requested treehouse view for the Contains and Where Used tabs. Workflow icons build in visual recognition and awareness of your processes across the entire team. Bill of materials now accounts for more CAD workflows, and everyday PDM operations have been made much faster. SolidWorks PDM 2021 introduces expanded configurability and increased performance to help you manage your team's file-based processes and deliverables better than ever before. One of the best features of SolidWorks PDM has long been the integration with Windows Explorer. In PDM 2021, support for the latest Windows 10 elements, like the ribbon interface, is even better. While icons are visually appealing, details is where the power of PDM reveals itself. columns define specific set of visible properties for users as they work in the details view, which is what we're seeing at the moment. In PDM 2021, you can customize these even further and in more places, as well as provide choices with multiple column sets. For example, your users can quickly switch between different purpose-built column sets as different lenses to your data. In PDM 2021, you can define columns in even more places, like quick search results. You can add, move, remove, rename, and define permission to view and default preferences per user and group. You can provide more meaningful access to your data for everyone. In 2021, a new administrative permission gives you more granular control over user ability to customize their columns, rather than having to have your PDM admin go in and set that for you. As you build out workflows, you'll enjoy the new and updated icons for states and transitions in PDM 2021. These help illustrate each step and add some colour to your process flow. And you're building in visual recognition for contributors wherever they're accessing the PDM vault. This mount for forward sensor suite is in the cost engineering state. I can help here with a redesign, but what about impacted references that maybe I'm not aware of? New in PDM Professional, Treehouse View is available in the Where Used and Contains tab. This visual reference can be printed and exported to an Excel file with thumbnails, which could become part of a change order documentation process. A quick multi-select, and you can check out just the right part, assemblies and drawings to make those changes that I require. Fast forwarding, I've redesigned the bracket to use aluminium plates. Converting this into a weldment creates a cut list item, and in 2021, these are fully supported in PDM calculated bill of materials, even taking into account the option for excluding from cut list. It's not just weldments that are even better supported in PDM 2021. Derived part references, like those created from insert part, mirrors, 3D interconnect, are all included as well. Also, SolidWorks BOM component display settings are fully recognised. For example, I'm going to promote this configuration so the children will be presented at the next level up. And you would set that just inside your configuration properties. A comparison of the computed bill of materials shows the new version is taking into account all the flexibility I had as a designer inside SolidWorks. With the expanded configurability and increased performance of SolidWorks PDM 2021, you can now take your engineering teams to that next level. Here are two benchmarks that the SolidWorks R&D team did. The first is testing 4 different assemblies with a large number of components and configurations, and we can see massive decreases in time just to display that check-in dialog box. So we don't have to spend as much time waiting for that actual window to pop up in the first place. The second test was using the destroy command. Destroy command is obviously access from shift deleting files or right clicking files that have been deleted when you go into the properties and view your recently deleted files. Although you probably don't want to be using that destroy command too often. We can see overall we've got about a 93% time saved in order to destroy files, because that process does have to update various things in the databases and the archives. That's why it can sometimes actually take quite a lot of time for that to propagate and take effect. I've brought up some of the other performance improvements for PDM. If you want full details on exactly every single performance gain inside there, I'd recommend checking out the What's New PDF for SolidWorks 2021, which will include the PDM performance improvements as well. Obviously, one thing to take note, these results do vary slightly. You can see even in the first example here of adding new files to the vault, some cases it's about 1.5 times faster, other cases it can be as much as 3 times faster. although that will obviously dictate slightly on the specs of each individual machine, as well as the specs of the server and your network connection, so your mileage may vary slightly. With expanded configurability and increased performance of SolidWorks PDM 2021, you can take your engineering teams to the next level and make things that bit easier and quicker. Moving on to the managed side of things, SolidWorks Manage 2021 provides new ways to manage your projects, edit your bill of materials, and interact with suppliers, increasing your design management efficiency and collaboration like never before. Managing multiple projects is common for most project managers. New in Manage 2021 is the ability to create project lists. Lists can be created to meet individual needs or defined by an admin and shared globally. Project lists provide easy visibility to powerful resource management tools like scheduling, capacity planning, and load charts, helping you make informed decisions about project start dates. Assigning tasks to users and allowing them to update their completion status and deliverables is a powerful key way to keep up to date on the progression of a project. New for Manage 2021 is the Auto Update Project Service. This background service can be configured to check for task updates and automatically update the completion progress of project stages. Additionally, any attachments that may have been added to the task can be automatically transferred to the deliverable section of the project. Manage 2021 also provides new ways to visualize project tasks. Out-of-the-box task dashboards are accessible directly from the project and provide clear visibility to project task burndown as well as status and priority. The task board can now be grouped by priority as well as status, allowing you to quickly visualize the assignment of tasks. With a simple drag and drop, tasks can be moved to in progress, and with a double click, task information can be accessed directly from the task board. Items are a powerful way to collaborate design data and manage. The item record has a reference to a number of SolidWorks assemblies that need to be consolidated into a manufacturing bill of materials. Modeless window now allows you to open multiple records and work in both at the same time, facilitating the ability to copy and paste from one bill of materials to another. When using the copy from command, you can select the assembly you want to copy and now preview the components to be added, deselecting any items that are not required. From within inside the bill of material, familiar editing tools like Cut are now available. Cut items turn orange, indicating that they are currently undergoing a cut operation, and once the bill of material is saved, they disappear from the list as you would expect. This assembly has a sheet metal part that will need to undergo a laser cut operation for the flat pattern, as well as a bending operation on the brake press. New in Manage 2021 is the ability to create new and new from records directly from the bill of materials without having to exit the current record. Simply adjust any metadata and specify what should be carried over into the new record. To add this sheet metal component to the manufacturing operations, you can now use the new dissolve command on its parent assembly. This command allows you to indicate which subassemblies you'd like to break down into their individual components. Once complete, you can remove the components that aren't required from the bill of material. Then, simply cut and paste the sheet metal bracket into the laser operation and break the press operation. New for the web client in Manage 2021 is the ability to preview SolidWorks CAD data utilizing the Web 2 in PDM Professional. This provides the full previewing capability of e-drawings on the web to users of SolidWorks Manage. Finally, when it comes to sharing data with suppliers, it couldn't be easier with the share command. This tool creates a unique link that can be added to an email or shared directly. You can add security precautions like passwords and link timeouts, and templates can be made available to ensure that all the reference components are packaged up for download. Suppliers can simply click on the link to download the files you've shared with them. SolidWorks Manage 2021 helps you take your efficiency and collaboration to new levels. Sharing designs with outside contractors has never been easier. Powerful new bill of material editing tools allow you to structure your bill of material more quickly and accurately, and new project management capabilities allow you to visualize and plan your design tasks with ease. Moving on from Manage to the SolidWorks CAM side of things, SolidWorks CAM 2021 gives the manufacturing floor more automation with expanded stock options, enhanced drill operations, and control over where you're managing posts. Let's see how SolidWorks CAM enables seamless design to manufacturing, powering your everyday milling and turning. This is important as production scales need to expand seamlessly from design to manufacturing. As production scales, you may need to expand your capabilities to include manufacturing. A recent redesign of this sensor mounting bracket is the perfect opportunity to put SolidWorks CAM to work. A default stock bounding box fits perfectly to the finished part. New in SolidWorks CAM 2021, predefined bounding box gives you the ability to represent standard rectangular stock. For example, a 6-inch piece of 6-inch wide 3/8 inch 6061 bar. Save, update, and share your go-to sizes through the technology database, even classifying based on material. With automatic feature recognition, you can generate an initial strategy in under a minute. This initial toolpath simulation is looking good. Let's take a look inside this drill operation. New in 2021, you can define PEC parameters with respect to tool diameter or flute length. More control of point-to-point operations like drilling lets me capture best practices robustly. Of course, the technology database stores how you want to do it in the shop, and that means your preferences become the next defaults. As it turns out, there's a supply on hand of 8-inch wide bar. I will make the changes and save that predefined stock to my tech database. New in 2021, a new prompt for rebuild is represented whenever stock is modified. Everything from my coordinate system feature to the thread operation needed to be rebuilt, and you're more aware of exactly what's updating in your program. Speaking of updates, how about we swap in a round material instead? New in 2021, cylindrical stock is generated automatically. CAM will fit a minimum diameter and thickness, and with a few changes, I can see what this program looks like with an 8-inch aluminium. If you share your posts between programs, no need for hunting around their C drive, network drives, that sort of idea. A new setting in the tech database for 2021 provides the option to specify default post folders. Pretty handy to keep you updated when folder locations change. SolidWorks CAM 2021 gives your manufacturing floor more automation with expanded stock options, enhanced drill operations, and control over where you're managing posts. Be sure to explore how CAM can power your everyday milling and turning needs. With those sections over, I'll now pass over to Scott, who will take us through the next section.
Thanks for that, Craig. So we'll now take a look at some enhancements to routing. And nowadays, we rarely see designs with wires or cables that don't use mounting clips to secure everything in place. And for SolidWorks 2021, the route edit through clip function has been enhanced. So after associating connectors from the schematic with the 3D part, we can simply harness the wires or cables. These red and green wires are only partially secured through a few clips. So to get them more secured, let's edit the route. Choose the route edit through clip tool. Select the axis of the clip and choose the wires we want to route through that clip. In the Property Manager, the new Arrange Routes section allows you to manually arrange wires with user-defined offset, merge the route to a single point, or even auto-arrange the routes. And we can repeat that process for the clip on the other end to secure the red and green wires through that clip, and it really is that easy. With these enhancements to the route or edit through clip functionality, designers can now quickly secure wires or cables through clips in their design. So it's just a short and sweet look at the routing enhancements, but it takes us nicely into electrical, which Kieran is now going to show us.
Thanks for that, Scott. That all looks great. So moving on to SolidWorks Electrical, and we've got a few little enhancements in here. So what we'll do is we'll just dive right into them. Now, when it comes to SolidWorks Electrical, or when it comes to anything, when it comes to modelling, it'd be great if everything was just a standard block shape, but of course that's not the case, and especially when it comes to electrical wiring and cabling and so on. Now, for that is why with SolidWorks 2021 we now have the ability to use both lines and splines in order to define our route paths, like you can see here. Once we've got the path in place, we can then go into our route harness command, and likewise you'll see the equivalent options within there to route using splines. Once that's been routed, you'll see that the route then follows the spline. We can finish it off by adding in a splice component just to make sure that all my cores are the same length and we've not got one which is much greater than the other, and the route's complete. Now, another common practice when it comes to electrical is, as you can see here, we've got one connector with two wires coming out of it. However, new with SolidWorks 2021, we now have the ability to route both of these cables as separate 3D assemblies. Now, when we pop over to the 3D space, again, we can go in and we can see the two paths that we've routed in, that we've sketched in place even for these two cables. So we can go ahead and go through the process to route these cables. All we need to do is select the cables that we're interested in. And you'll notice that we have the same little checkbox for separate routes within here as well. Once we've got that set up, all that's left to do is create the routes. And you'll notice that we now have two individual routes created within our assembly, giving us much more flexibility when it comes to analysing our designs once everything's complete. So quite a quick little section there, guys, but some nice little enhancements. Now, we didn't get time to show you everything in there, but another couple of enhancements when it comes to electrical with 2021 is we also have a nice little addition to terminal strip drawings, where we can now add symbols into our terminal strip drawings to indicate what type of terminals it is that we're displaying. Another nice little addition with 2021 is we now have a SolidWorks electrical viewer. That viewer can be found simply by going to your Windows Start menu. In addition to that, we also have the option now to exclude manufacturer parts from our bill of materials. Now, this is all done from within the manufacturer part property manager. However, what this does is it actually propagates through to the 3D part environment as well, also excluding it from the BOM in there. And the last little enhancement I want to mention is the add-in that's been added for Excel automation. So what you'll now find is within Excel we now have a SolidWorks Electrical add-in, which will help when it comes to the automation process if you're using that at the moment. Now, just before we wrap up here, guys, we've got another little quiz for you guys, just like yesterday. Now, we did get quite a few people get this one right yesterday, so we'll see if we can fox you a little bit with this one. So just like yesterday, we've got two images on screen here. One of them is real and one of them is a render. Again, just like yesterday, if you just want to pop your answer in the question box on the right hand side, and we'll see who can get it right this time. Now this one is a bit of a tricky one, so have a close look and we'll see who gets it right. We'll just have a few more seconds till pop your answers in. Right, okay, I can see some of the answers coming in there, so let's just see which one is real and which one's the render. Drum roll, please. That's right, the one on the right is the real image and the one on the left is a render. Again, the one on the left has been created in SolidWorks Visualize, and this one is actually quite a convincing render when you look at it. It's got a real sense of realism in it. But again, just shows you the power of the tools that you have available to you. Now, following on from that, again, we'll run one more of these tomorrow, so stay tuned if you want to try and figure it out. And from that, I'll pass you over to Craig, who's going to wrap us up for today's session.
Thanks for that, Kieran. So that really takes us to the end of day 2 in regards to the What's New event. But before we finish up, I just wanted to give a quick recap of day 2, then even a wee sneak preview at tomorrow. So obviously today we covered a couple of things that was new for Composer, which, to be honest, it's always nice to see because Composer is one of those things that can be quite handy, but is usually one of those forgotten applications. In regards to simulation, flow simulation, and plastics, there's a lot of nice improvements there, particularly in regards to performance. If I'm being completely honest, I didn't quite believe the improved speeds that were being claimed at the start, but after running some simulations ourselves, they do live up to their name, if I'm being honest. We then looked at some enhancements in both PDM and Manage, again, that having some performance improvements as well. And then we moved on to the CAM package inside SolidWorks, routing and electrical just there by Kieran. That means that we've really covered 3 of the 6 main areas that we introduced at the very start of yesterday, where we looked at on day 1 the expanded functionality and a little preview of some of the performance improvements in SolidWorks, and then obviously it went through about a third, maybe a little bit more of the SolidWorks in action yesterday, then spent pretty much all of today going through the rest of what's new in regards to SolidWorks 2021. So that really leaves us with 3 wee sections at the bottom, which is going to be covered in day 3, talking about the 3DEXPERIENCE platform and also how that can link to SolidWorks and some new applications that are being introduced and new apps on the platform as well. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to play a wee quick kind of 10-second almost teaser of what we're going to talk a little bit about tomorrow. So I'll play that for you just now. And that shows just a little tease of some of the stuff in regards to the Simolia and the simulation side of things in regards to the platform.